Alright, hello guys, how's it going? In today's video we're going to be talking about Winter Storm Kade, but for the northeastern United States. I've been talking about extending that forecast, and today I'm going to deliver on that. Now, before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends and families if they live in the impacted regions. Let's get right into things. So first things first, we're going to be obviously looking at our current hazards, our warnings, watches, and advisories. We always do this in the beginning of the videos. And there's a purplish blue shade, and then there's a blue shade, or a navy blue shade, I would say. In the purplish one there, for the more southern regions, we have a winter weather advisory. And up there in the northern regions, we have a winter storm watch. Alright, now let's get started with a little bit of our simulated radar. We're going to see things move in from the west and the south. And we're going to start to see snowfall for Indiana, Ohio, and it's going to make its way into Pennsylvania and then upstate New York and New England. So this is going to be by tonight, so about 8 p.m. tonight. So you see why I had to make this video today. I had no time left, so tonight it's going to be moving into Ohio. Let's move towards about 11 p.m. tonight, so a little bit later, and we can see Cleveland is taken over by a bit of moderate snow, and then maybe even Erie, Pennsylvania as well there, getting taken over by moderate to heavy snow. And then one more frame, and you can see northern Pennsylvania and the Finger Lakes regions, as well as areas like Buffalo possibly as well, getting some moderate to heavy snow, some very heavy snow there indicated by the deeper blues. By the way, this is our RGEM model, but the even higher resolution version of it, so I'm using the very high resolution Canadian model here. Now we're about to move on where we're going to start to see New England get a little bit involved, and also areas in New York like Albany as well. So some very exciting stuff coming up on the next few frames. So as you can see here, we see on this next frame, this is going to be by, I would say, 5 a.m. tomorrow morning on Thursday, February 6th. We see heavy snow there for Albany, in through the southern Vermont regions, and then the Berkshires up there in Massachusetts, and even the very northern regions of Connecticut and Rhode Island. We see Boston is getting moderate to heavy snow by this point, and also areas like Keene, New Hampshire, so the very southwestern regions of New Hampshire, but it is going to be moving from west to east, so we're going to see that move in. Also to our north there in the Adirondacks, we're going to be seeing some moderate snowfall as well, so a lot of areas getting some moderate to heavy snowfall by this point in this first little portion of the storm here. Let's move on a little bit later, and it's just a little bit. This is going to be by 7 a.m. and you can see the heavy snowfall has moved into where areas like Nashua, Manchester, New Hampshire, and then even Hampton Beach there. We see Boston as well getting in on this very heavy snowfall, but we see that pocket of very deep blues, even areas in the very central hilly regions of Massachusetts as well. Also, notice those purple colors to the south. That's going to be where sleet and freezing rain are, so the accumulation is going to start, and pretty quickly we're going to start to see probably 3, 4, 5 inches of snow here in this very heavy portion of snow. But that sleet and freezing rain is going to make its way north, and it's going to creep in, and it is eventually going to make its way very far north. Also notice the tapered off snowfall for the areas in upstate New York and western New York as well. It's pretty much come to an end. Cleveland, we've already seen us mix over to some icy precipitation as well, so it's becoming a very messy storm quickly. Connecticut and Rhode Island are getting a ton of sleet and freezing rain by this point. We're about to move on where we're going to see that line start to move further and further north. We're going to track that line just to tell you guys at what hour you could be expecting what type of precipitation. Also, I'd like to take note here as we move towards about 9 a.m. on Thursday, February 6th. We have some thunderstorms going on for North Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia, areas like that. So if you want to track those, you can just take a look down there. I live in Virginia, so I'm going to be keeping an eye, obviously. We see that sleet and freezing rain move further north on this frame. Like I said before, Boston is now in sleet. All of Massachusetts, actually, matter of fact, and then northern Connecticut, northern Rhode Island, and areas like Albany are right on that sleet line possibly here by this point in the morning. But the good news is for snow lovers, you've already seen about 3 or 4 inches of snow probably. So this does not mean that you're not going to get snow, because we've already seen a ton by this point. And this is only round 1. We're going to have a second low pressure system come in on the 7th, so on Friday, and that's going to bring a ton of snow to northern New England, it looks like. We're going to have to make a separate video on that one probably tomorrow, honestly. Let's move on another frame, and we can see that line moves just a click further north. Now we see Buffalo, the Finger Lakes, all in that icy mix or even rain by this point. Albany definitely north of that, or south of that line, sorry. Keene, Manchester, Nashua, southern Vermont as well, Hampton Beach, and it's starting to creep into Maine as well. So most of that light to moderate snow is located in the Adirondacks, northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, and we see some snow showers going on for Maine as well. Let's move on one more frame, and this is going to be by Thursday, about 4 p.m., Thursday, February 6th, and things start to fill out more, but we see those pinks moving further north. Also notice the thunderstorms going on for Virginia and North Carolina, like I said. But we see that moderate to heavy snow for the Adirondacks, northern Vermont, New Hampshire, and then all of Maine is really filling out. We're starting to see that snow get a little bit heavier once again, actually. So the low pressure system is intensifying by the time we're reaching Thursday afternoon. Now I'm about to move on to where we're going to start to see that get even heavier and heavier here for the last little punch of Winter Storm Kade here in the northeastern United States. Now we can see those pinks and purples moving even further north. We see the very middle portions of New Hampshire, Vermont are taken over by this. So I would say areas like Laconia, maybe even Conway in New Hampshire as well. And then all of coastal Maine, so we see Portsmouth, and it looks like Bangor is probably still north of the rain snow line. But we see areas like Albany are well south of it. So only the Adirondacks are still snow, very far northern Vermont, very far northern New Hampshire. I'd say north, in and north of the White Mountains, I would say. Most of Maine is still snow, though, by this point. And we do see some moderate to heavy snow within that. So again, it's still starting to intensify. Also notice that line of thunderstorms in central North Carolina. This looks to move from west to east, bringing a line of possibly some straight line wind damage. So we could be dealing with some pretty hefty severe weather down there for Virginia and North Carolina as we reach later in the day. And this is going to be by about, I would say, 7 p.m. on February 6th, Thursday. Let's move a little bit further in, and this is going to be by about 8 p.m., so maybe an hour or two later. And again, we see those very heavy freezing rain, very heavy sleet going on there for New Hampshire and Vermont and coastal Maine, but we do see heavy snow to the north of that. Again, going to lead to 3 to 6 inches of snow, and I think a few locations might get 6 to 10 inches of snow from this first punch, and we see those thunderstorms moving further east. Let's move on again, and we're seeing the tail end of this. This is going to be by 12 a.m. heading into Friday, February 7th. And we see light to moderate snow going on for the Adirondacks and then Maine by this point. And we see that snow starting back up for Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio. And what that's going to be is going to be our second area of low pressure moving in and our second punch with this storm that I'm going to talk about in a separate video in the coming 1 or 2 days. And that one's going to be the one that brings a lot more snow than this one, but it looks to be further north. So areas like Albany and north of you, and then I don't even think Boston will get much from it, but north of you in New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine, we will be dealing with possibly some snow from that one. Now we're about to move on and look at our modeled total snowfall, and then we're going to look at the total sleet amount, total freezing rain amount, and then we're going to go into our official snowfall forecast. All right, now here's the RGEMS total snowfall that's expected. In our purple shades, we're looking at 3 to 6 inches of snow. So you can see we have that there in that very heavy area of snow that moved from west to east. Also to the north, we have that with more consistent snowfall, but a general 3 to 6 inches of snow, I'm thinking anywhere from just north of Boston and then up through Maine. I'm going to go ahead and say that it could be anywhere in there. So I'm not really buying this one area to the north and one area to the south. I think it's going to be pretty widespread. Here's your European ensemble model, which is pretty consistent. This is one of the more consistent models there is. And this one is calling for a general 3 to 6 inches of snow just from that Vermont, that Vermont, New Hampshire border northward, all the way in Maine. And then I would say from Albany northward and the Finger Lakes northward, we're all looking at 3 to 6 inches of snow. And then to the south, you can see we have a dusting to 3 inches basically for a lot of areas there. Now here is that this is going to be your total sleet. You can see we have it scattered around in some areas, but not going to be looking at anything significant. Nowhere is looking at about anywhere close to an inch. Maybe the Finger Lakes regions we're seeing indicated here. maybe the best chance to see a heavy amount of sleet, but it's just going to be scattered in, kind of mixing in at some points here. And here's your freezing rain total. Less than 1/10 of an inch for most areas, but Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, lots of areas in New York, Massachusetts, northern Connecticut, and northern Rhode Island, and then southern Vermont and southern New Hampshire, as well as areas in northern Ohio, could all be looking at a little coating of freezing rain on top of that snow, which if you live in the Northeast, you know how to deal with that, but it's going to be on top of the snow and kind of lock it in, and it's kind of really annoying, actually. Now let's get into our official snowfall forecast here. Now starting things out, we have our dusting to 3-inch region. You can see Cleveland, Buffalo, Syracuse, Albany, just to the north of Scranton. We also see Boston in this area here of dusting to 3-inch. In Burlington, Vermont, we see Portland, Bangor, and Holton up there in Maine, also in the dusting to 3-inch region. Let's add our second layer here, and this is going to be our 3 to 6-inch layer. We see Detroit is in that, Cleveland, Buffalo, Syracuse, Albany, you're right on that 3 to 6-inch line. Burlington, Portland, Bangor, and Holton all in the 3 to 6-inch region. Boston, you're just under 3 inches. I think you'll probably get 2 inches of snow, followed by sleet and freezing rain, and maybe even pure rain, which is going to make for a pretty sloppy storm for you guys. Now notice central Massachusetts, which is a very hilly region. I think that's going to dip down that 3 to 6-inch region. So a lot of the towns in there could get over 3 inches of snow quite easily. Now we have 2 smaller areas of 6 to 10-inch regions here, one for the lake effect regions there near Watertown. And, I think this is going to get lake effect enhanced and could lead to a few areas getting more than 6 inches of snow for those regions. And also up there in northern Maine, they're going to be dealing with the same intensity of snow, but with the colder temperatures, we're going to have a higher ratio of liquid to snowfall. And I think that's going to lead to just a couple more inches for those very far north regions up there in Maine. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends and family, and I will see you guys in the next video.